These today and tomorrow are our last two sessions to round out 2023. So again, I just want to start off by saying thank you to all of you who have spent this past year with us. And I hope for what you came here, you got out of and more. And I want to just kind of go back and talk about self-reflection today. So at the end of every year, you really want to reflect. How many people actually have a business plan that they wrote last year? Perfect. Now's the time to just take the dust off of it and take it out. And look, we're always talking about finding the gap. And what you want to understand about business plans are a few different things. First of all, start with something positive and write what worked. Then the next section, you want to talk about what didn't you do? And then the third part is the gap. And this is where all the money is. And the answer is why. And I know all of you are invited to our business planning next week, but just in a smaller setting, I just wanted to talk about this more on a micro level. Look, a lot of challenges we have about business planning in real estate is we make a plan, but we don't have a plan to execute our plan. Like, how often do you check into the plan? What are you measuring from the plan? What is the focus of the plan? And most important is, how does that plan show up in your schedule every single day? And you want to start understanding the gaps. And the biggest gap that I believe every person has is that they put too much into their plan. It's not realistic in what you write down, because if you write down a plan that's like this, your time blocks for those things should be like this. And there is a really simple direct correlation between what you write down in a plan and what your schedule looks like. And I could tell you in 30 seconds or 60 seconds together, if I looked at your plan, I looked at your calendar, where all the gaps are. So again, I'm going to go back to this 90-day concept. And I'll share with you where I got this 90-day concept. Anyone ever hear of Success Magazine? So Darren Hardy is the CEO of Success Magazine. I was maybe 26, 27, where I met him in a mastermind group. And by luck, opportunity, whatever you want to call it, at the end of one of these happy hour events, I got to have almost a 30-minute conversation with him. And if you look at Darren Hardy, he's one of those people, no matter where you are, you can look at the guy and take one look at him and know that he's uberly successful. He just portrays that, and just the way he carries himself, the way that he dresses, the way that he looks. And mind you, this is 12, 13 years ago at this point. And, I asked him, like, how are you so successful? And how do you even interview these people that, you might be here and they're here? And like, how have you grown so much? And he says, it's what I'm going to share with you is really simple, but most people never do it. And I said, well, what is that? He says, every 90 days, I focus on one thing I want to learn. And that's the only thing that I focus on. And at the end of every 90 days, there's something new that I master, whether it's listening, whether it's sales, whether it's working with people, whether it's a specific area of leadership, not just leadership. And he's like, I've been able to do this for years. So over time, I just grow at a much faster rate, but I'm not a generalist. I'm actually a master in many different things. Sorry about that. And so, I started thinking about that for whatever reason over these past 30 days. And, that's really where I would like everyone to start focusing their business plans, their initiatives, and their time. Because the thing that makes real estate really interesting is you can practice something and be learning it, but you actually have clients that you practice with this stuff every day. So if you look at something like a buyer's presentation, how many people have buyers that they're working with every day now? I have clients, most of us, right? So you're able to take what is in many cases theory-based and put it into application. And then again, it goes back to the same concept, finding the gap. Where is the gap between what you're learning, what you're doing, what the clients are saying, how are they receiving it? And it's understanding how to do these in these 90-day increments. Who here has been in real estate 10 years or more? If you followed this schedule, Rob, for the last 10 years, you would have mastered 40 different things in your business. That would put you in the 0.0001% of realtors in the country. Because the reality is real estate is, number one, it's a career. Number two, it's uberly competitive. So for all of us, right, that are not like number one in our market, and even if you are number one or a top agent, there's always somebody coming behind you. So you're never really ahead. And if you're getting there, you have to find a strategic way to close the gap over time. And real estate is not a job, it's a career. And if you start looking at what you're doing as a career, you'll approach it differently every single day. Now, for next year, I believe this is the year of mastering the transaction. It's really funny though, and I've talked to over 300 people, I believe, in the last 2 weeks. And I can always tell by people's GCIs and kind of what they tell me. Oh no, I've mastered this transaction. I know what they're doing. I'm like, well, what's your GCI? And they'll tell me, I'm like, no, you haven't, respectfully. Because in the end of the day, how much training and how much time have you really put to this skill? Our ability to pitch our unique value proposition and have people give us compensation in exchange for that is our most valuable skill that we own. It is not, it's something that you literally should practice every day. If you're a basketball player, it's the same thing as shooting, right? If you're a point guard or a shooting guard, if you're Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, or Michael Jordan, do you think at any point in their career they practice shooting? No. If you're a golfer, do you think these people ever practice chipping and putting? The answer is no. So the question that you want to ask yourselves is, why is it so hard to have structured practice for 30 minutes a day? You can give 30 minutes to Instagram, you won't think twice about it. TikTok, YouTube, pick your poison. We hit that email button and go back to emails for hours a day, and that's an organized system for other people's agenda. But that's what your inbox is. When you want something, you email somebody. My inbox is filled with requests and things that other people want from me. 2024 is a year of, I would say, A, mastery, and B is focus. So the question is, what do you want to focus on and why? So drop in the chat what you plan on focusing on for 2023. Let's get an idea of where everybody is today. All right, so Stephen, I'm going to go with Stephen first, since he was first to market. Developing leadership in my team. So you want to ask yourself, Stephen, is the skill of leadership, what area of leadership? There's so many different areas of leadership. So is it clear what you want to work on? Is it concise and specific, the skill that you want? Is it quantifiable where the result is? Perfecting time blocking. I would I would encourage anyone not to use the word perfect. There's nothing perfect anywhere in life, right? So for various to-do items. So what are those to-do items, right? You want to reframe this into, I want to learn the skill of having the discipline to time block blank so that blank. Delisa, mastering the end-to-end transaction. Well, is that buyers? Is it sellers? Lorray, that is, I want to master the skill of prospecting for 30 minutes every day. Mo, I want to master time blocking where every week on Sunday, I will block the things that I need to get done based on my business plan weekly. Deborah, master buyer transactions and time blocking. Well, what part do you want to focus on, right? Focus on lead generation. Well, what does that mean? Time blocking. What part about time blocking? Mastering my listing presentation, have every buyer sign a signed agreement. That's perfect, but you have to pick one area to start out with. Time blocking. What part about time blocking? Martha nailed it. Two things: intentional buyer consultation or repeatable buyer experience. So it looks like, Martha, you have your first 180 days mapped out. Because you're going to pick one for 90, the next one for 90. Wayne, mastering having conversation with client. What conversation? Mike Rivers, another great one. Sticking to my marketing calendar. Right? So that's just setting up the time blocks and just following your plan. Improve time blocking. What does that mean? Listing presentation, lead follow-up. Perfect. There's your first 180 days. Be skilled on the buyer's presentation and following my business plan. The buyer presentation is your first 90 days. The business plan is setting up a time to review it a year in advance and then sticking to those things. Buyer presentation. Do you all see where the gap is here for many of us? If what our goal is not clear, how can the specific actions we have to take around the goal ever be clear? Listing presentation. Perfect. Everyone should eat. Everyone. Okay. Thank you. Sorry, that was the UPS guy. Every one of you, I believe, should for the first quarter either have listing presentation or buyer presentation. Everybody. There's no world that I believe any of us live in that this is not a skill that we need to master. And look, I want to break this down to 30 minutes a day, 2.5 hours a week, 10 hours a month, 30 hours a quarter, plus working with clients. You should be good to go. Right? We all want to get into more accountability and role play groups. And the cool part is, for next year, with the way that our assessment is, we'll be able to match people in the right time zone, similar skill set, similar goals. It'll be a lot more focused. And even when you get into the listing presentation, there are different parts of it, right? There's mastering the Med C, which is pre-qualifying. There's mastering price, the way that you share the market, right, Melissa, and not own the market. There is the way that we talk about marketing, right? Our marketing calendar and how we communicate that in a collaborative way to the client. And then there's also the communication plan. Look, we're approaching a very transitional point in this industry. And we all need to go into it, as they say, eyes wide open. Real estate agents have a knack of getting really worried about something for a period of time and then forgetting about it. Jesus, talk about burnout. Burnout, kids' germs, it is a very real thing. But look, for the end of this year, you want to start next year with a clean slate. Whatever didn't happen, it didn't happen. You have to accept it and move on. There are too many people that just beat up on themselves relentlessly. When you see this thing here, I think we all need to master our relationship with our cell phones. I found something that I wanted to share with all of you today. Give me 1 second.
something. This is the psychological power of the device. What if I was sitting here talking to you holding my phone? It's not buzzing, it's not beeping, no one's calling me, I'm just holding it. Do you feel like you are the most important thing to me right now? No, you don't. That's the association. So when we show up for a meeting, or we sit down for dinner with our families, and we put the phone on the table, it sends a psychological message to everyone sitting there that you are not the most important thing to me right now. And putting the phone upside down is not more polite. Put it in airplane mode to take away the temptation that something's coming in, and put it in a bag or on a shelf out of sight. And this is how we should be interacting with people, giving them our full attention, because the idea is not that we hear the words they say, but that they feel. And this is one of the tricks. If you wake up in the morning and you check your phone before you say good morning to the person sitting next to you, you probably have a problem. If you have to take your phone from room to room, you probably have a problem. Like any recreational drug, the more you practice leaving it away. For example, if you go out for dinner, you don't need 4 telephones. Leave one at home, leave one in the car. You have one with your spouse, it's fine. If you have a client meeting, leave it in the car, leave it in the bag, never take it out. And it becomes easier and easier. And you find it easier not to be sucked in by the fear mongering as well. So like any addiction, it just takes a little work. I just want to show you something. This is the psychological power.
So I want somebody to share, what did you learn from that little 60-second clip? Jim.
And so what I learned is, and this is echoing what I also read in the Unreasonable Hospitality book, is presence is really where the relationship comes from. And creating the ultimate experience with a client means being there 100% for them, or anybody for that matter of fact. So the example they used in the book, and the big aha to me, is how easy it is to let the eyes wander, the attention wander, and what is the other person feeling at that point? The relationship is diminished. And if that happens over and over, the relationship maybe never really gets to the point of you're being the preferred vendor or the preferred referee.
Perfect. Thank you. Anybody else want to share?
I will.
Shoot.
For me, it creates a much better experience for myself also to be focused on whomever I'm with rather than scattered, because then you're not really present. And I think being present in everything we do in general in our lives creates a happier life, but also a better experience for whomever I'm talking with at that time.
Yeah. I don't think I could say this. There's no more shittier feeling for a human than being around somebody you care about or being part of any kind of conversation where a text message, an email, or a social media thing is more important than you. You want to talk about how you destroy somebody's self-confidence or give them low feelings of self-worth, low connection, lack of priority in a relationship. That's it. Scott?
Yeah, I have to say that I think most of us are pretty good at giving our clients the attention that they want and deserve. When we're in front of them, we look them in the eye. We listen to every word that they say with intent. We repeat it back so that they're clear, that we understand exactly what it was we said. But when it comes to looking our children or our spouse in the eye, at least my experience is I have to hear it from my wife when she says, put the phone away, look me in the eye, otherwise I know you're not paying attention to me.
Yeah.
So she's my best accountability.
We're all every day consciously robbing time from ourselves and other people and creating void of connection. This thing is more powerful than anything you could humanly imagine. And in my experience, and I'll throw, look, I've had, and I waver sometimes still, a serious problem with this cell phone. Like it can consume every bit of you. I think all of you know pretty well that I'm not very fond of a cell phone, or as my girlfriend tells me, you truly hate phones. And so, it was interesting because over time, in the beginning, I knew this, and getting into anything new, I was very mindful of it. And then over like the last, I would say, couple months, as I've kind of just thrown myself into this lawsuit and everyone else and everything, I just kind of lost track of it, to the point where she said it's very hypocritical, like you're on your phone all the time. So recently, now when we share time together, I take my phone, I just put it away. And I also find that even just having that phone, even in my pocket or anywhere near me when I'm doing anything with my family, makes me think about work or what's on it or everything else. But the second I put it away in the drawer, we were talking about this at dinner last night. And my girlfriend had gone through a whole workshop, and I picked her up, and we were in the city for the weekend. And I wanted really just to be present and hear what she said, both Saturday evening and Sunday evening. And the comment that she made to me was that when that thing is away, you're like a different person. I'm like, well, what do you mean? She's like, you're so much happier. You smile more. You're more present. Your mind's not scattered. And she's like, for me, it's a very different experience. And she's like, it's the experience of the person I met, not like over the last few months. And, she understands that there's work and everything else, but there's a balance to all of this. And I could say if somebody had to ask me today in this moment, what were like the best days of the year, I could say from Thanksgiving Eve to like that Sunday. Because when I left work, I don't know who I was on the phone with. I'm like, this is my last call. I'm turning my phone off. That was it. And I literally left my phone off for days, and maybe turned my phone on for 30, 40 minutes in the evening while she was doing something else. Kids were in bed, respond to anything, respond to it, turn it right back off. And that was it. When I went on vacation over the summer, my screen time was less than 42 minutes a day. I barely used it. It was such an amazing experience. So I think all of us need to add into our business plan a plan for our cell phones. I remember sitting there with my son after we watched The Social Dilemma again, talking about it, on how they have these videos that just pop up in like the recommendations and everything, and how literally it just sucks you in there and you go one thing to another. And I'll never forget this. Do you know what he did? He cried. He just started crying because he's like, that happens to me, and I don't know why. And like, he felt really like taken advantage of, very manipulated. And it was a very real experience for him. For the first time in his life, at 10 years old, he realized he had no control over what he was doing, and something else could just completely manipulate him that way. Look, there has to be a break for all of us in the work that we do. And if you're continuing just to be on this thing, your brain never gets a break to shut off, because the day just goes. I think the thing that most agents really forget is from the moment you wake up and you turn yourself on for work, you are there to be there for every other human being in your life except yourself. Except yourself. So at the end of the day, if you're not able to disconnect, why do you think you feel so burnt out? That's why. If you go to work all day and you come home at like 6:30, 7 o'clock, like many of us do, right? We have evening showings, and between 7 to 11 or 7 to 12 is where you spend time with your family, your husband, your wife, your partner, your dog, your cat, your friends, and your phone is just part of your ongoing experience. What is that really saying? Anyone ever go home after a long day of work and end up in these social media holes? Right? Think about it. You're choosing to go like this instead of having experiences, building memories, and actually living your life. So as we round out our call today, You know, think about what worked and why. Think about what didn't work and why. Understand what the gap is. And the fourth area is have a plan for your cell phone. Don't forget to build your life into your plan. It is so important that we all live. Yeah, right. I think somebody needs to have a cell phone addiction accountability group next year for people that want to keep their screen time to a certain time or less a day and will want to turn off their notifications. You know, it's funny in terms of talking to so many of you, the one thing I was laughed at, like, you know, what we really liked about our experience is you're a real person. I'm like, well, yeah, I have a heartbeat. I breathe air, you know, I go to sleep, I wake up in the morning. I'm like, what does that even mean? I'm not a robot. And they're like, no, you can, you know, you make sure to share things that don't work for you, which makes us all feel comfortable that we're all in the same boat together. We all are. Everyone struggles from the same thing. Nobody's void of this. And too many times between coaches, mentors, speakers, people of influence, there's this unnecessary gap that's created, which is an optical illusion. Everybody's challenged with this stuff. Exactly. You know what? Whoever, I'll throw this out there, whoever creates like the AA for cell phones will be rich. You know, there hasn't been a book written about that. The impacts of cell phone addiction. Think about it, especially in the millennial generation. How many people know millennial? Right? It's like, can you put your phone down? Like, you know, are we living a life, or is this like your whole life a social media moment? There's such a balance with all this, right? It's like document what you do, share what you do, like, but there's a way to look at these things as business tools and resources. This thing's a tool and a resource. It's all that it is. So I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad. I'm definitely no better than anybody else. I just think that these are simple 4 areas of opportunity for growth as we think about next year. And look, whatever you're doing, whether you choose to do it with us or not, do it in 90-day increments. '90-day increments. So at the end of every year, thanks, Bill. At the end of every year, you master 4 areas of your business each year, and you keep growing in a career competitively more than other people. If you notice most business plans, and you go talk to 10 people that are your friends and ask them, has the same thing been on your business plan to master for more than a year, more than 2 years, more than 3 years? So if you're a time blocking person, that's all you want to do, that should be the only thing you're focused on for 90 days. Right? And supplement that with a skill and just make sure, like, okay, these are the things I'm committed to. So as always, with love in my heart, I love you all. Tomorrow will be I have a fun interactive thing where it's not going to be coaching. It's going to be one big conversation with all of us and a cool way to end the year. So as always, with love in my heart, I love you all. Thank you, Michelle. And look, keep plugging away, stay focused. There's essentially 2 more weeks till Christmas. We have that 1 week between Christmas and New Year's. So plan your time. And for those of you who want to work on your cell phone plan, these holidays are a great time to get started. Bye, everybody.